Yo, what's good, fight fans? Welcome to the very first episode of the Sports Club podcast, right here on YouTube. I'm your host, Kuron, a resident MMA junkie, and we're diving headfirst into the chaos of the octagon. If you're new here, smash that sub button, hit that bell, join the club for breakdowns, hot takes, and zero bullshit analysis on all things UFC and combat sports. Tomorrow night, we got the final UFC event of the year. Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape live in the Apex in Las Vegas. This just isn't any card in the final event of the year. It's the last one on ESPN as we flip the script to Paramount Plus in 2026. Flyweight fireworks in the main event, ranked contenders scrapping for momentum, and all 13 all 13 fights totaled with prospects, vets, and short notice bangers. And we're gonna be breaking it all down here today, starting from the absolute bottom of the card and climbing all the way to the top. But before we get into that, we just want to give a quick overview of the event and like what to expect. If you're an old, like if you're, this is UFC's ESPN 73 or Vegas 112. If you're old school, headlined by two flyweight killers. You got Brandon Raw Dog Royval and Manel Starboy Cobb. You know, this fight is free. And if you guys do want to watch this fight is free on ESPN. Prelims start at 7. The main card will be at 10 on ESPN2. And I really think this definitely has potential to be fight of the year. I know like the betting odds make it seem as if Brandon Royval is this big 3-1 underdog in this fight, but honestly, if you really just been paying attention with all his fights, especially in fights like this, like he's always been the underdog in these fights, which is honestly crazy to me, but you know what I'm saying? But honestly, Manel Kape, he took some time off, with his injury, and like he's now back trying to get closer to a title shot and sometime in mid 2026 with the win against Royval. I expect fireworks. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely gonna see. Now, but before we get into that, we still have 12 other fights we gotta break down. With that being said, we're gonna jump right into it. Starting off with our early prelim number one, you got Teresa Bleda and Jamie Lynn Horth. Teresa Blade is 3-1 since making her UFC debut after Contender Series knockout versus Jamie Lynn Horth, who is 7-5 with a 2-3 record in the UFC. Blade, like she is a volume puncher. She's 6 foot. Her reach advantage has been untested at this level, but she definitely has that East European grit, finishing with 75% of all her wins. Horth is a vet and brings tons of experience with decisions over Haley Cohen, but losses to Loma Lukmanovi. Expecting to expose her takedown defense. Her takedown defense has been exposed at times, at 55% when it comes to defending takedowns. But her X factor in the striking standard is her X factor is in the striking advantages. Blade likes to storm forward. I definitely could see Jamie Lynn Horth picking her apart on the back foot. So for this fight, I'm gonna go with Jamie Lynn Horth by decision, and I think she's gonna keep this fight. I feel like she's gonna try to make this fight as technical as possible. And I feel like Lynn Horth is gonna use her experience to really, really edge this one out. So yeah, that's my pick for this fight. Jamie Lynn Horth by decision. Next, we have Alan Fry versus Gerhard Pat. This fight is a heavyweight fight. Now, Alan Fry, like both of these guys are making if I'm not mistaken, I believe both of these guys are making their UFC debuts this upcoming weekend or this upcoming tomorrow. Alan Fry is 9-2, regional beast on short notice. Versus Gilmore Pat, who's 11-4, and he's also a grappler. And like he's a Brazilian grappler, but he has some crazy knockout power. He has 7 of his 11 wins came by knockout, but it has definitely been known that his cardio does tend to dip after round 1. So I feel like Pat is very slick on the ground. Pat, he's definitely slick on the ground. He's very real slick on the ground, including 6 sub wins, including a regional tap. But his stand up has been his Achilles heel. Yes, but his stand up Achilles at 60% actually. I feel like in this fight it's gonna come down to like who's gonna land like the first big shot of the fight. And Fry, like, he likes to throw bombs from range, and Pat, he definitely likes to closes for the takedown. He likes to take you down, and when he gets you down, like, he's not gonna try to really just hug you or like keep you down to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he takes you down, he's gonna look for that finish. As far as my prediction for this fight, I definitely could see Fry by knockout or TKO in round number 1. But remember, you know what I'm saying? But for my guys who do gamble on this fight, you know what I'm saying, be sure to remember that Fry, his cardio is not that good. So, I feel like Pat, if he definitely does decide to take more of a wrestling approach to this, and if he's able to get Fry down and really wear him out, then who knows? Maybe Gilmore Pat. I feel like Gilmore Pat, I feel like a sub could also be very live. I feel like definitely could be worth the live bet, after round 1. So when we're watching the fights, we definitely got to look for that. But I feel like Fry can definitely get it done in round 1. Say if he stuffs the takedowns early on in the fight, then I could definitely, if Pat can't, okay, I'll say this, if he has trouble getting Fry down to the ground, then I could definitely see this fight if he can't take him down, then I just feel like Fry can definitely get him out of there in round 1. Now, for our next fight on the card, we have Melissa Croden and Luana Santos. I'm gonna take Luana Santos in this one. She's stepping in on short notice. It was supposed to be Molly McCain and Luana Santos, but McCain had to pull out, so Melissa Croden is now stepping in. I like Luana Santos in this matchup by decision. She's an undefeated prospect who's 4-0. And I just feel like she's definitely better than Croden and I'm not going to say in all areas, but I feel like Luana, she definitely does have the advantage here in this fight when it comes to standing up. But I don't know. I feel like Croden though, but Croden by any means is not no scrub, So especially considering like she just knocked out Lisboa, a few months back on Doretta versus Brendan Allen back in October. She's on a 3-fight win streak as well. So I feel like, but I don't know, but then again, it just really comes down to like what you want to bank on, do you want to bank on Croden? Like, has she been training for this fight? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it too soon? Like, has she been working? But I feel, but Croden money line could be live as well, depending on how the first round goes. But I feel like Luana Santos is gonna do just enough to get the decision in this fight. But if I did have to take a value bet on this, a good value bet on this fight could also be for the fight to not go the distance. I believe that's at plus money, but I feel that definitely could be a bet to watch too for the fight not to go the distance, because like Croden, she definitely can shut your lights out, if you give her the chance to. You know what I'm saying? But so we gotta definitely be mindful of that, Plug fam. We gotta be mindful of that. Now, next fight on the card, we have Steven Aspelin versus Sean Sharaf. Give me Steven Aspelin by round 1 knockout in this one. Steven Aspelin, he's definitely a guy that has really impressed me. Trains at Minnesota top team. He's been dominant in the LFA, with only 1 loss to now, who's now actually in there. We saw him fight a couple weeks ago, Denzel Freeman. He lost to him by sub, but ever since then, he's been on a 3-fight knockout streak. He got it done in 16 seconds on Dana White's Contender Series, and he's now making his debut. Can't wait for that. As far as Sean Sharaf, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he's definitely not going to make it easy on him. Sean Sharaf, this is going to be his second fight in the UFC, so I feel like this definitely could be a pretty good fight. We got one making their debut and the other one is coming off their loss to, one of the Tafa brothers. I believe he lost to Junior Tafa. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't fought since 2024. And that's another reason too, like, mainly, because, like, I don't know, I just feel like you just can't lose to a guy like Junior Tafa. Not just lose, but get knocked out in your debut and just not, fight again after that, So that's another reason too why people were asking me, like, oh, like, do you think Sean can get it done against, like, honestly, I don't think he does. I feel like Steven Aspelin's going to go in there. He's not going to fuck around. He's going to get straight to it. And I feel like he's going to get him out of there in round 1. But, hey, but if you have money to throw on Sharaf, I say do it. But I think Steven Aspelin is going to get it done in this one. Now, for this next fight, which is one of my personal favorites on this card, we got Neil Magny fight week, everybody. We got Neil Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov. Now, before we get into that, let's just look at Amosov real quick. Fellas, like, for all my UFC guys out there, it has been the year of the Bellator fraud checks. Like, we've been seeing Bellator guys just getting fraud checked left and right. So, and honestly, Neil Magny, he's like a plus 3-1. He's a 3-1 dog in this fight. And personally, I don't really agree with it. Like, everyone thinks he's gonna, just come in and just, like, lay down. I just feel like this, like, Neil Magny, he's riding momentum right now. He won 2 straight fights that he was predicted to lose. And, like, I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I really don't know much about this Amosov guy, but I do know Neil Magny, and honestly, like, Neil Magny, like, people will look at him, like, any casual would say, like, oh, like, Neil Magny, oh, he's old, he's on his way out of there, he's on his way out, but when you really look at it, like, when you really look at Neil Magny's track record, when you really look at his track record, he got knocked out, by Carlos Prates. Cool. Like, look at the guys he's fighting. He beat Jake Matthews, who was the favorite. He beat Dos Santos. who is also a favorite. Yeah, obviously he loses to Carlos Prates, knockout. Michael Morales, knockout. But people seem to forget, like, he took Ian Gary, number one contender Ian Gary, to a decision. Yeah, he lost, but like when you really look at it, when you really look at all the times he's been finished in the UFC, like brother, like he's only been finished by he's been finished by best of the best guys. Prates got finished, Morales he got finished, Gilbert Burns got finished, Shawcott he got finished, he got subbed. You know, like so for the fact for people to sit here and tell me that Neil Magny is like some type of scrub, like that's just crazy to me, bro. Because like all I'm saying is like Neil Magny, he don't lose to low level guys. Now, am I calling Amusav a low level guy? Absolutely not. But I'm just going off of like the stuff that we've been seeing. You understand? And what we've been seeing is Bellator guys been getting fraud checked left and right, left and right. So, and hey, I mean, the last two times Neil Magny fought, I picked him to win when people called me crazy. So I'm doing it again. Give me Neil Magny by decision in this one. I personally wouldn't parlay it, but I'm already sure. Like, I mean, hey, bro, like, shit, like, I know by decision that shit gotta be at least like plus 500. Like, shit, if you got like $10, shit, throw $10, win 50. Like, fuck it. It could be more than that, to be honest, but because I know they really expect this guy to just kill this guy, bro. But I just don't think that's gonna be the case, man. Like, I don't trust these Bellator guys. I'm gonna continue fading these Bellator guys, and I don't care what the odds say. Give me Neil Magny plus money in this one. Next on the card, we have Joanderson Brito versus Isaac Thompson. Now, for this one, give me Joanderson Brito. Honestly, and I'm gonna say it right now, like Joanderson Brito, he's definitely by far probably I want to say he's probably the biggest lock on this card for me is Joanderson Brito. I just feel like he's really gonna school this guy, bro. Like, honestly, I don't know too much about this Isaac Thompson guy. I know he's an LFA guy. He's 2-2 in the LFA. Like, he's 23 years old, but I don't know. Like Dana, he must really. But I don't know. But Dana White, he probably knows something that I don't. Because this is probably the first time I've seen like a young 23-year-old at that. Getting a shot at a guy like Joanderson Brito, like right out the gate. And like to me, like that's kind of crazy. But I don't know if they trying to set this kid up to fail or what. But like I just feel like Joanderson Brito is gonna get this done easy. Like don't honestly. Like, there's not really much to even break down on this fight, to be honest. Like, it's just simple as that. Like, Joanderson Brito's gonna get it done, and that's just that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely my biggest lock on the card. Next fight, going into this one, we have Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. Now, this right here is probably a coin flip fight for me, but honestly, I'm gonna go with Amanda Lemos for this fight. I feel as if I don't know, I just feel like Robertson, she's gonna like wear herself out, trying to take Amanda down. And I feel like Amanda is gonna get it done. I feel like her striking is gonna lead the dance in this fight. I just feel like if she could pressure Robertson and force her to strike, then I feel like she can definitely get it done, or will get it done. But I just feel like in order for her to get it done, her striking is gonna have to lead the dance. which I personally think it will, but it's already gonna come down to, who's more aggressive and who's gonna be willing to lead the dance. If it's gonna be one of those, just like backing up, where it's just like not really a whole bunch of output and volume getting put out there, then I feel like, that's gonna leave openings for Jillian Robertson to mix in her wrestling. Because I feel like what people don't understand is like when there's really not like a whole lot of output in a fight, it's like it's all gonna come down to like who's going to do something significant that's gonna look good in the judges' eyes. So I feel as if like if as long as like Lemos is like on the front foot, backing her up and throwing and like saying throwing volume and landing the more cleaner and more significant strikes, she should win the fight. Like, and just don't let Jillian take her down. You know, cause like, cause I really feel as if like Jillian is not gonna be able to like really stand up with her. I feel like Lemos is the far superior striker, and Lemos like she's definitely gonna try and take her down for sure. So I feel like if Amanda can stuff the takedowns and lead the dance with her striking, she should fairly get it done, whether it's by knockout or by decision. Moving on, we're now getting into the main card. First fight on the main card, we have we have King Green versus Lance Gibson. Lance Gibson, he's another Bellator guy on this card. Now, honestly, if I'm being honest, guys, I personally am not a big fan of this fight. I do not like this fight at all. But like it's obvious what the UFC's trying to do here. You got Lance Gibson, 30-year-old prospect. Another Bellator guy, by the way. And I mean, let's just call it what it is. King Green. Formerly Bobby Green. I don't know why he changed his name to King Green, because ever since he changed his fucking name, like it's just been bad. Got killed, or he got finished in his last two fights, but he lost. He got brutally KO'd by Rufy, got subbed in round one by Patty, but I don't know. Honestly, like I just don't like this fight. I personally like if I couldn't like I don't know. I just don't like this fight at all. Like nothing about this fight. Honestly, and if I don't know. I mean, if I had to choose who's gonna win the fight, I mean, like I know normally, guys, I hate like people who know me personally. They know I personally hate betting on Bellator guys. Like I fucking hate betting on Bellator guys, but I don't know. Like there's just nothing Bobby Green has done recently to make me want to believe that he's gonna get this fight done and get the win here. So, as much as I hate to say it, I personally hope me saying this actually motivates, Bobby Green to go out there and get a win, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like one of those situations where it's like, like if I pick him, he's gonna he's gonna, fight like shit, probably get finished again, but I'm gonna pick against King Green this time. I'm gonna go give me Lance Gibson Jr. I think Lance Gibson Jr. like he's definitely a good value bet. That I feel like not enough people are talking about. I feel like Lance Gibson is a good value bet. Like that's definitely a good value bet, Lance Gibson Jr. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be my pick for the fight, Lance Gibson Jr. But I really personally, even though I am picking Lance, I really do hope Bobby does win and gets a dub to end off this 2025. Now, next up, we have Marcus Buchecha versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Kennedy Nzechukwu, his last outing in the cage was against Walter Walker, Mr. Heel Hook. You know, he got heel hooked in round one in under a minute. And I feel like that's how people last remembered him. He was a 2-1 favorite in that fight against Walter Walker. Freest money we ever made. Shout out Walter Walker. But honestly, I feel like this is definitely a good bounce back fight for him. Like, you got Marcus Buchecha. He's from Brazil. He's a big. He's a 35-year-old guy. He definitely does have some power to him as well. Like, this is definitely two heavy hitters. But honestly, like, in this one, I personally like Buchecha. Like, I feel like if he wants to win this fight, he's gonna have to really try to take down Kennedy. I just don't think you can strike with a guy like this, like Kennedy. So if Marcus does want to win this fight, he's gonna need to take down Kennedy, because I feel like Kennedy definitely does struggle with the grappling. As like we easily seen in the past. Like, so. But for this one though, but I feel like Kennedy is not gonna give him a chance to wrestle. I personally think Kennedy is gonna get it done early, and I like Kennedy by knockout in this fight. Like, definitely a prop to watch out for this fight. I like Kennedy in this fight. I feel he's gonna get it done in either round 1 or 2. But yeah, like, I like Kennedy in this fight by knockout. Now we on to the next fight. Definitely, I feel this fight right here could either. I personally like this fight on the card. We have Melky Costa versus Morgan Charrier. Brazil versus France. And personally, for this fight, I like Melky. Like, he's like, he definitely is a very great all around guy. He could do it all. He can grapple. He can strike. Like, he pretty much can, like, whatever you need done. Like, whatever, you think he could do, he could do. And Morgan, he's more of like a crisp boxer. He's more of a boxer, definitely a very technical guy. He's definitely a sharp in a lot of things he throws. But for this one, like, this one's a real tough one. It's been a real tough one for me to predict. But for this one, I'm not gonna lie, I did have Morgan earlier in the week. But after doing more analysis and watching more film, I just really just don't see how Melky Costa doesn't get this one done. I personally feel Melky Costa Melky Costa, yeah, he's made some mistakes in his recent fights. Even though he won, like, he definitely has made some mistakes though. But I feel like in this fight right here, I feel like Costa, I don't know, this might be a hot take, but I really feel like tomorrow night we're gonna get a better version of Melky Costa. I think he's gonna go out there and dominate in all phases, in the grappling, the striking. I just feel like he is gonna outwork and outclass Morgan in this one. Give me Melky Costa by a finish. Give me Melky Costa by a late finish or decision. For this one, we got a real underrated matchup at middleweight. We got Cesar Almeida versus Cesare Ulchek. Honestly, I know everyone's on Ulchek in this fight, but honestly, like, give me Almeida. I like Almeida in this one. I like Cesar Almeida in this fight. Like, this definitely another good value pick right here, Cesar Almeida. Like, both guys, have real heavy power. Almeida, he is 37. Olchek is 25. So, like, I say bet this with caution. But I mean, Almeida, he is, Almeida, he is. This is not. This is gonna be his. I believe this is now gonna be his sixth fight in the UFC. He's 4-1 in the UFC right now, with his only loss being a split decision loss to Roman Kopylov. He knocked out. He won by knockout in his last fight, but I don't know. Like, he's a former glory kickboxer. Very high level kickboxer. People will look at the age and think like, oh, like Usyk should get him out of there easy, but I just don't think that's the case in this one. I feel like Almeida is definitely the better stand-up guy in this one. I feel like he definitely, I don't know, like, I feel like Unk is going to show levels in this fight, and I think, now don't quote me on this, but I really won't be surprised if Almeida knocks this guy out. Like, no joke. One thing we noticed with Usyk, like, he definitely can be reckless, and Almeida, like, he's a very crisp, sharp striker with crazy power, and I just feel like Usyk is gonna, I don't know, I mean, I just feel like Usyk going to sleep in this one. Like, something just tells me that Usyk is going to sleep in this fight. If he doesn't go to sleep, I just feel like he's definitely losing this fight. I just feel like Caesar's the better guy, and I just feel like his striking is going to be on point, and I really won't be surprised if he gets him out of there. Maybe if he don't get it out of there in the first round. Who knows? But we going to see. Now, we going to get into our co-main event of the evening. We got Giga Chikadze and Kevin Vallejos. Kevin, 24 years old. He is a Dana White Contender Series alum. He has now had, this is now going to be his second fight, or his third fight in the UFC. And I mean, he looked really good in his last fight against Silva. I know, like, he is, he does definitely look to, get wild in there sometimes. He's definitely a heavy hitter, and, he's definitely always going to look for that finish when opportunity presents itself. But the guy he's fighting, Giga Chikadze, definitely one of the better strikers in the division. I really feel like it definitely is a step up in competition for him, for sure. I feel this definitely can be an interesting fight. Giga, he is on a 2-fight losing streak, losing with losses to Onama and Arnold Allen. But I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, he's really only he's lost to, I mean, Arnold Allen, top guy in the division. Onama, he recently lost to Steve Garcia. So I mean, like, his last 2 losses were the guys that were ranked higher than him. But I feel like this is, I don't know, personally, I feel like, I mean, I like Kevin. I like both guys, to be honest, but as far as Kevin, I feel like Dana White is, he's really trying to lobby for this guy to, get and put in position to get up in the rankings so he can start fighting these higher ranked guys. And I really feel like it's a little too soon for Vallejos. I personally think Giga gets this done, whether it's by knockout or decision. I feel like this is a very good bounce back fight for Giga. I feel like as long as he just doesn't, I just feel like as long as he doesn't try to, like, keep exchange, if he doesn't try to, because I feel, okay, I'll say this is how this fight, in my opinion, could go for me. If Kevin's the one that's over here trying to, lower Giga into these wild exchanges, I feel like Giga could get slept. But if Giga stays, fundamentally sound, pop that jab, you know what I'm saying, leg kicks and jabs, you know, stays upright, you know, I feel like he definitely could outpoint him, you know, because like he does have a 4 inch reach advantage on him, and he's also 4 feet taller than him. Wait, no, what the fuck? No, I said 4 feet taller than him. But I mean, Giga, he's 6 foot and Kevin's 5'7", so he definitely is a few inches taller than him. But you know, so I feel as if, you know, it's gonna come down to styles. It's like really gonna come down to who do you think is gonna get it done? You know, precision or chaos. You know, in this case, like Giga, like, but the thing with Giga is, you know, he's very precise, but he's also powerful at the same time. And I feel he's more calculated than Kevin. Kevin, he tries to like time you with all. Like, he definitely like tries to throw like a lot of looping shots, and he tends to leave his head open a lot. And I feel like you can't do that against a striker like Giga. So I don't know. We'll see, but I like Giga in this one by decision or late finish in this one. You know, I just feel like it's levels, and I really won't be surprised if or when Giga shows levels to Kevin. And now, with that being said, we're gonna get to the last fight to break down, the main event. We have Brandon Royval and Manel Kape. With that being said, I will take Brandon Royval on this one. I like Brandon Royval in this fight by submission or by decision. You know, I just feel like the odds makers are doing Brandon Royval really dirty on this one as far as the odds go. You know, because like when you really look at it, you know, like he lost. Like, I don't know. I just feel like people like look at the, because like I think people are so quick to forget. Like yeah, like he lost his last fight to Joshua Van, but for anyone who's watching that fight, you could really make a case like the reason Joshua Van won that fight is because he knocked him down late in the he lost because he knocked him down late in the third round. You know, as the round was about to end, he knocked him down, and that if you want to be, you can make an honest case like that's the reason he lost the fight because he got knocked down with 10 seconds to go. You know, granted, do I personally feel like he should have been striking with Joshua Van the whole fight? Absolutely not. You know, I really think he should have checked his grappling in that fight, but he didn't because he wanted to make it entertaining for the fans. You know, respect. But I just really feel like we're gonna get a much different Brandon Royval in there. You know, I don't think we're gonna see the Royval we saw when he fought Joshua Van. I feel he's gonna, you know, really make Manel Kape really work this fight, and I just feel like Royval's gonna, you know, pressure him, be up in his face. I feel like he's gonna, you know, take him down. Like Kape, like don't get me wrong, like Kape, you know, he definitely does have crazy power, you know. So I really feel like it's gonna mainly come down to. I just feel like this is definitely gonna be one of those real dog type of fights, you know. I really feel like if it does go to decision, it's probably gonna come down to like the last round, you know. But and the thing is, like, we never seen Manel Kape go 5 rounds yet, so like that's another thing to watch too. Like, we've seen Royval go 5 rounds, but we have not seen Manel Kape go 5 rounds, you know. But I mean, hey, you know, I mean, and like to me, like Royval, like I just really feel like Royval's gonna, you know, really push the pace in this fight. I feel like he's gonna, you know, come in there extra motivated and hungry for this fight to put himself back in the position for a title shot at some point. He probably may need one more win, you know. So I really feel like, I mean, who knows? Maybe if Royval can get this one done, I could definitely see him fighting maybe possibly the winner of Moreno and Asu, or who knows? Maybe you could make Royval you could also make Royval and Tatsu Taira next. You know, like I feel like that could also be a very good fight too. Royval and Tatsu Taira next, or for whoever wins the fight. But and as far as like Manel Kape goes, he won his last two fights. I can see why people have him as a favorite in this fight. Two big knockout wins in his last two. Like, he knocked out Asu, and he did beat Bruno Silva both by knockout in the third round. But I don't know. I just feel like for this one, I just thought this is gonna be a real dog fight in this one. It's gonna come down to who wants it more, and I don't know. I just like the odds. I just feel like the odds are too good to pass up on Brandon Royval at plus money. But yeah, man, that's my pick for this one. I like Brandon Royval by submission or decision in this one. But yeah, that's what I like for this. Those are the picks that I like for this UFC fight card. For the last UFC fight card of the year. These are all my picks, and hopefully this video was definitely helpful to you guys. Especially for all my bettors out there that bet UFC or MMA. So I like all these picks on here, man. I feel confident in these picks. Otherwise I wouldn't have broken them down. But I mean, I'm not Jesus, but based on what I know, these are the guys that I like for all these fights. And I personally think I personally feel like most of these guys are gonna get it done. And I really do believe Royval will get his hand raised when it's all said and done in this one. But that is it, guys. This has been the episode. This has been our first breakdown of the new YouTube channel. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video, man.